With the current match still going on, we had Iski practically insult Loki as he left the field, which led to a lot of theories of him being the final antagonist in the upcoming U20 World Cup arc. However, I don't think that's very likely, and I'll explain why Loki, and by extension France, won't be too relevant in the next arc. And I'll give my predictions on who Japan will actually play in the rest of the story and Loki's importance in the future. Unlike Chris, who wants to crush Iski for ruining his chance to defeat Noah and declared he wants revenge, Loki is in the same age bracket, and so theoretically he could actually play in the under 20s tournament, unlike Chris. As we know, Loki is based on Mbappe, who did not play in his U20 World Cup, and if it follows his real life counterpart, then there's a good chance Loki doesn't play either. But that's not the main reason why I don't think he'll play. Loki is French, and so when it comes to the actual final match in the series, he will be part of the final team with Noah and likely Charles too. They are the three core players we know so far that will play for France for the most intense and important match in the series. So even if Japan and Blue Lock don't play against France and Loki in the U20 World Cup, it doesn't remove his future importance in the story. That being said, the main reason for why he won't play is simply because he is way too good, as there are different types of levels the players have to overcome. We have them go from top tier high school players to the low U20 level as they defeated the U20 Japan team, to them overcoming stronger U20 players in the NEL. And currently we're at that level where the Blue Lockers are comfortably better than a lot of the fodder characters in the U20 teams. However, Loki is a master striker and part of the World 5. He is far beyond the level the Blue Lockers are currently at, and far better than any normal pro player. Every arc they improve, and one of the key parts of awakening and entering flow is being in a challenging situation where it balances between anxiety and boredom. Loki was someone who reacted to Kaiser's Magnus shot and called it slow as he stopped it, and he's also someone who easily blitzed through all of Bayern Munich before deciding to pass the ring to test them. He wasn't scared of Birkenstock or Mensa and could have easily scored. So when it comes to the actual proper game where Loki is trying and not limited to the 3 minutes, then the Blue Lockers will absolutely get stomped and won't be able to enter flow as Loki is simply too good. Like, I want to remind you how good the Master Strikers actually are and how much impact they have in the 3 minutes. Like in their first game we had both Noah and Lavino sub in and score 2 goals within 3 minutes. And when Chris and Snuffy were both playing, there was a goal scored as well in that time frame. And when Lavino subbed in when Loki didn't, their team scored twice. Against NEL players, it's like the Master Strikers are playing on easy mode, and if you remove the Master Strikers who are helping the Blue Lockers like Noah, then they'll get slaughtered as they are direly outmatched. Loki is a top echelon player and a final boss in the series. It is not his time to become an obstacle for the Blue Lockers in the story for now. So when it comes to the actual U20 World Cup, we will likely see the Blue Lockers play against other top tier U20 players and low tier young pro players too. That is the current level the Blue Lockers are at now, and that is not the level where they can beat Loki. After the U20 World Cup, we will have them actually start their professional careers and playing in leagues. That's where I'm predicting Iski will join Real and basically have the Blue Lockers evolve to a steady professional level, including stuff like having the El Clasico where we have Iski vs Bachara and some more matches. Then the actual World Cup will have the best of the best players, where the Blue Lockers will have their most important evolutions to reach the levels of players like Noah and Loki. But that's not until the distant future for now, as we're just at the U20 level. Besides being too good, the other reason I don't believe he'll play is because of Charles, as he is another French player with future relevance. Loki's whole purpose in joining the NEL was for his development and is satisfied with his growth so far, but he didn't even attempt to form a chemical reaction with Charles, and so some people have speculated that we will see it in the actual U20 World Cup. But the thing is, Charles is specifically said to be 15 in the NEL. He's the youngest player, and the significance in this is that he is too young for the U20 World Cup. I've mentioned previously on my channel, but he would be born 2004, and so following the U20 guidelines, he would be eligible to play in the actual U20 World Cup as he is a year too young. I do want to say that these rules don't have to actually exist in the Blue Lock story, as we could have the rule ignored where Burasata and the management may shift some rules and restrictions, similar to how the 3 goalie requirement being dismissed or the roster size being different from what we actually know. but if we're talking about real life, then he shouldn't be able to play in this tournament. So if Charles doesn't play, then I don't see a point in Loki playing because he will just smurf in the tournament and he himself just doesn't benefit or undergo an evolution from beating Izuki in Japan, as he won't evolve by playing against weaker opponents. Loki is an egoist and it's not his time yet, and he will be reserved for the future where the Blue Lockers can actually challenge him and help him improve and evolve too. France are going to be the final team to verse in the actual World Cup, with Noah the top dog, Loki the rising star, and Charles the midfielder with the potential to bring out the best in them both. But we never actually got any other notable French players to show in the NEL, so I see no point in making France a team they play against, that is, unless they want to establish even more characters for the actual World Cup, which is my next point. The purpose of the U20 World Cup is to introduce future characters for the actual World Cup and showcase the other new gen players and potential rising stars in the other countries, while also developing the other players involved in the matches. It will hint at the future matches, set up rivalries and storylines, while also showcasing the new Japan that can challenge the world. Since I'm pretty confident in Loki not playing in the U20 World Cup, I want to briefly talk about who Japan will actually play in the rest of the story. Primarily focusing on the U20 teams, we know there are 11 new gen members, including Sai from Japan, Lorenzo from Italy and Kaiser from Germany, which means we still have 8 more new gen members to explore. For Japan, I'm not expecting Sai to play in the U20 World Cup, since we know the 23 players are the Blue Lockers who survived the NEL, and I'm also predicting that they win the whole thing as Izuki declared he would lead them to victory. I also quickly want to address that in the U20 World Cup, Germany didn't actually participate, so there's a good chance the manga changes which countries attend the tournament, especially if they want Kaiser vs Izuki in it. With Kaiser's awakening, Nest likely evolving too, and the fact we will see other German members including some players from Berserk Dortmund, their rival team, I'm expecting a stronger Germany team than the one we saw in the NEL, and I'm fairly certain that Japan and Germany will play against each other in the tournament, whether it's in the finals or earlier. Doesn't matter too much, but we will see Izuki vs Kaiser in an actual match. For Italy we have Lorenzo, and since Ubers actually utilised their teammates like Drago, who had more panels than characters like Ayu, I wouldn't be shocked if he was also part of Italy's U20 team. I'm not sure if Japan will actually play against them, but seeing as Japan played against them in the real life U20 World Cup, then I could see them playing against them in the group stage too. Assuming Burasada doesn't change anything in the World Cup structure, then Japan will play a maximum of 7 different games, 3 in the group stage, and if they make finals then 4 more. And since I'm expecting Japan vs Germany, that only gives us 6 other games, where we also have 8 missing new gen members. Of the potential teams we see, we know 4 countries are from the AFC U19, and of them, South Korea is a team I think will play against Japan. I want to preface by saying I didn't actually watch the tournament when it happened, but since they placed second and the best player award went to the South Korean midfielder Lee Kang-in, then he could be a hypothetical new gen member too. The other reason I think they could be a good team against is for both IQ and Sendo's development. Seeing as they were likely in the squad to secure them a spot in the U20 World Cup, then having them lose to South Korea in the previous AFC Cup could set up a rivalry between Sendo and the South Korean members, and so he could get his revenge and prove himself and awaken. As for the other 2 AFC teams, it could be Qatar and Saudi following the real life tournament. That being said, I don't think either team will really be that relevant anyway, so even if they change their teams, it won't affect my predictions that much. Another country I'm fairly confident will have a huge role is Argentina. So far we've had France have multiple top tier players like Noah, Loki and Charles, England having the second best striker Prince and Adam Blake the top scorer in the Premier League, and even Brazil having Dada and Lavino. Argentina only has Pablo Cavazos for now, so when we go on to see Argentina in the future, it would be good for a world building perspective to give him teammates from the U20 squad. Personally, I'm expecting that Argentina has at least one new gen member, and in particular I think they'll have the U20 goalkeeper. In the case they don't have him, but it's just another new gen playing from another position, then I believe when it comes to the World Cup, Argentina will defeat the team with a new gen goalkeeper. That way he can hype Cavazos as the best free kicker in the world. Quick side note, but I'm also expecting Kaiser in Germany to defeat Argentina in the future, as he has his Magnus shot, plus is a smart player like Pablo Cavazos, so their skill sets overlap in a way. Then eventually Germany go on to lose to France, where Noah devours Kaiser to awaken like he wanted. Which is another reason why I think Japan vs Germany is very important in this cup, as I don't think they will be the ones to defeat them in the actual World Cup. So in the U20 World Cup, I'm expecting Argentina to have the new gen goalkeeper and potentially another member too, maybe a defensive midfielder or winger. And when it comes to the match against Japan, there will be a strong defensive team and potentially we get to free kicks where it's up to the Blue Lockers to overcome the goalie and also lead to Gagamaru's evolution. Alternatively, if it's not Argentina with the goalkeeper, then Ukraine, who won the tournament, could have the new gen goalkeeper too, but even if they do, I'm expecting Argentina to still be important and have at least one new gen member. Similar to how Germany aren't part of the tournament, Brazil isn't either. I think a Brazilian winger is one of the most predicted new gen members, and I agree too. Also, when it comes to the World Cup, every master striker has been hinted to play against Japan, that is besides Brazil. Neither Dada or Lavino have hinted to wanting to play against Japan, so adding a new member to form a rivalry against Iski and Blue Lock would be an organic way to foreshadow a future match for the World Cup. That being said, they don't actually have to do that in the U20 World Cup for Brazil and could just introduce him naturally in the arc afterwards. As for the other potential matches, we could have a duplicate rematch like losing to Argentina in the group stage but getting revenge in the semi-finals, or they could just have Japan against unique teams altogether. I'm fairly certain France won't be one of the teams and Spain won't be either, since I'm expecting them to introduce a lot of characters in the following arc from Real, the best team in the world. And so there's no need to develop characters in the Spanish U20 team if we're just going to introduce new characters later. I think England is a 50-50, assuming we may see Aki not limit himself by developing Nagi, but we don't know his nationality and he could be from another country. So overall, I think that the U20 World Cup will have different teams and groups to the real life counterpart. Since we know there's a pot system to determine the groups, plus the fact confederations can't double up, then I'm going to guess the following. First up, Japan is from pot 4 from the AFC, Argentina pot 3 from the CONMEBOL, Italy from pot 2 from the UEFA, and the pot 1 team being from either Mexico or the US, from CONCACAF. Honestly, the group would still be pretty hype if it was the exact same one as real life, but for now I'll assume an updated group stage. In this group, I'm expecting Japan losing to Argentina and beating the other two teams to progress. As we enter the bracket, I'm guessing they beat South Korea in the first top 16 game, where they have a new gen midfielder, and the match will have development for Aiku and Sendo, as they get their revenge for the AFC tournament where they previously lost to them. As for the quarterfinals match, it could be Poland, Mexico, Portugal, Brazil, Ukraine, Colombia, Netherlands, Senegal, or even Belgium. Honestly, it's hard to guess this match since there are many countries to pick from. I think the final three I mentioned are most likely, as Belgium could be a revenge match from the actual World Cup, as they previously beat Japan, or it could be Netherlands since we see both flags in the anime. Alternatively, it could be fun seeing them play against an African team like Senegal, which could have Arki and an additional new gen member too. In the semi-finals, we can have Japan against the team with the new gen goalkeeper. This can be Argentina, where they can get revenge from the group stage, or it can be from another team like Ukraine. I just want this game to go down to a penalty shootout where Japan comes on top. And then we have the finals where it will be Germany with Kaiser, Ness and even better German players than the Barca Munich team. This match will have the highest stakes as we see Iski and Kaiser battle it out to determine who is the better striker, where the winner will lift up the trophy as they declare victory, which will be Japan. Then when it comes to the actual World Cup, the final match already has a bit of foreshadowing against France. For example, Noah says that he wants Kaiser to awaken, so he himself could devour and evolve, which hints to me that France will defeat Germany at some point in the tournament, which makes Noah even stronger. We also have the fact Noah says he would rather lose with a hat-trick than win by assisting, which could hint to the final score. This coupled with Ego saying he wants something similar, where he wants someone who would gamble with Japan's victory by trying to score instead of passing, foreshadows the final goal Iski will score. As for the other countries involved in the World Cup, we will have England as Chris is the second best striker and declared war against Iski, as well as having Adam Blake the top scorer in the Premier League. There could also be Arki too, but his nationality isn't known. With a strong offensive focus and Chris's hatred towards Iski, I'm expecting them to play in the semi-finals. Brazil is also a pretty stacked country with both Dada Silva and Livino playing. Unlike the other players though, there hasn't been really any foreshadow for either one wanting to crush a Blue Locker in particular and establish any sort of rivalry. So there could be a team Japan play against in quarters, or maybe another team for France to devour. But since there's a good chance that Japan play the top 5 countries in the world, then them playing against Brazil seems like a very likely possibility. The final master striker is Snuffy and he is from Malta, which is a weak country. With Barrett declaring they have unfinished business, this could be a matchup in a club arc where Snuffy tries to accomplish his dream, or it could be Japan playing against Malta in the group stage. An issue is that in the real life 2022 World Cup they aren't a country that actually play, but since it's a manga then changing it so they are one of the teams is likely, especially if they do it for Germany in the U20 World Cup. Another big country that Japan will likely play is Spain. With Luna plus the best team in the world being Real, there's definitely some other pros on that team we will likely see in the future for the Spanish team. Unfortunately in the NEL we don't see any capable players to be important in the future, but the next 2 arcs should introduce some important characters for the team. With Sai and Rin teaming up, this could be the match for their awakening against Luna, and so I'm expecting them to play against Japan in either the semi-finals or quarters. The final top echelon pro we know is Pablo Cavazos from Argentina. Since I'm expecting them to do well in the U20 World Cup and play against Germany in the tournament, I think there's a chance they play against Japan in the group stage too. So when it comes to the final World Cup, I think it will look like something like this, where the group stage will have Japan as pot 3 from the AFC, Malta being the pot 4 team from UEFA, Argentina being a pot 1 team from CONMEBOL, and for the final pot 2 team, I'm not sure, it could be Germany or Netherlands, but for now I'll just say Netherlands since we've seen their flag in the anime. Then the bracket will have them defeat the top 4 teams in the world, Brazil, Spain, England and finally France. That way Japan is the undisputed best team in the world. Unfortunately, since I'm expecting Japan to play against both Argentina and Brazil, that means I doubt we see Japan vs Belgium for a rematch in the previous World Cup, who defeated Japan. Alternatively, the World 5 had rankings, and so that could be in order we see them play, i.e. Brazil in the group stage, then Argentina, England, Spain and finally France. But that shouldn't change too much in my predictions. And with that being said, thanks for watching, Buddha be praised and have a good day.